What up, everybody? You're now tuned into the true definition of a sports fanatic. I'm your host, Brandon Lampley, back today with another live stream. Back in this thing, we're gonna talk some Jaguars. We won't be before you long. We'll talk some Jaguars. We'll talk some NBA, and it's a crazy week in NFL football. Of course, there's a lot of stories surrounding Kyrie Irving in the NBA, so we're gonna touch on the surrounding stories. We talked about them a little bit before. The Colts hiring Jeff Saturday. I have to be honest. I chuckled when I saw that because I was like, man, I didn't know he was coaching. Was he coaching the offensive line or something? And then I looked it up. I said, oh, he's not coaching at all. I said, yeah, this is going to go over well. And all the think pieces I knew that would come out had started to come out. But I got some pushback for all the people who are upset and talk about this is slap in the face to black coaches. You might not like my response to it, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. What up, Ness? What's going on? But I got my co-host back again with me in the building once again. Mr. Reed, how you feeling today, sir?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. Back in the normal slot.
Yes, sir.
Excellent plan. We feeling good, man.
Oh yeah. Hey, I heard this on the sports spot on one of the local stations here, and I said that's too cool for them. I got to put that on my show.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. But we gonna get right into it with these Jaguars, man. And man, this is what's going on? We got some people in here already. Hey, he say go Noles. Hey, Ness, that I didn't see the game. I was watching my Roll Tide and watching that debacle with this defense, and you got the best quarterback in Alabama history with one of the worst wide receiver tight end cores in the history of the program, probably. So, but it is what it is. We talking about the Noles. Man, was it 45-3 in their house?
Yeah, they blow them up.
I don't want to hear anything from a Kane fan for a long time. I just go ahead and sit down somewhere. I don't want to hear it. We go ahead and call it a day. Let's see. He say defense stepped up finally. Yeah, Jakari, they made the plays they need to make down the stretch, man. Absolutely. They said Kassan Carter. Hey, Kassan. Hey, he called it. He called Georgia over Tennessee, and he called South Carolina over Tennessee. You 1 for 1 so far. 1 for 1.
Yeah,
for sure, man. But talk about these Jaguars, man. I mean, it was nice to see them actually finish out a game and to, get the W. I was very proud of those boys. They didn't make the plays to lose the game as they have in the past, of course. But how they did it is, that's Jaguar fashion. You have to be dramatic, when you do it. You can't just, go ahead and blow a team out and let that be that, like they did the Chargers. That's a rare occasion. No, they have to give you a heart attack all throughout the game is what they have to do. Early in the game, Devontae Adams was having his way. And I guess Mike Caldwell, he went to the defense. He was like, look, we stopped Devontae Adams, we win the game because they don't have anything else. Darren Waller was out. Hunter Renfrow, he's a good player, but he's not a Devontae Adams. He doesn't impact the game as such as Devontae Adams does. And in the second half, Devontae Adams, I know, had about 6 or 7 targets. And I think he had, at one point, I know he had 3 catches for 0 yards.
Yeah, in the second half. Yeah,
in the second half. Oh, Smoot. DeJuan Smoot. Hey, go ahead and lock him up now. Lock DeJuan Smoot up right now. Don't let him get away in free agency.
Yeah, it was good to see him getting the reps that he needs to get. But I'll say this, though. I think that I do think the coaching staff listen to what the fans say. Mm-hmm. But I commend the coaching staff for this week in that game because I think that I like to see a coaching staff make adjustments when you have to make it. I know they had some hard decisions, but you didn't see a whole lot of Trey Herndon out there. And it's the same thing with Shaq Griffin. Why put a guy out there if he's a detriment? And I think Trey Herndon probably was in on a few plays, but he was not exclusively or on the field much playing outside cornerback if he was out there at all. So they obviously, I thought they Let me see what I saw. I think the kid that they drafted in the 7th round, right? I think
Yeah, the corner. Yeah, he
playing.
was out there.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name to save my life.
but
Let's see.
they
Adams
didn't.
had Butterfingers in the second half. Yeah, he did.
But that just shows you that the Raiders is a team. They got their hot shot coach, our head coach,
Yeah.
and it looks to me that the Jaguars made all kind of adjustments in the start of the third quarter, second half, and the Raiders couldn't adjust. They couldn't get the premier wide receiver in the spots that he was in the first half, and he had over 100 yards receiving. So I know we've been ripping these guys about not adjusting, not making the necessary, putting the wrong personnel packages in and that kind of thing, not getting enough pressure on the quarterback. But I mean, when you look at what they did, I mean, I think a victory for the coaching staff for making hard decisions, playing smooth a lot of reps, not having Trey Herndon in there, and just I don't think they married to the players, but as you had on the screen there, man. This team got a superstar in ETN, man. He's a solid star. He can get him that the acceleration that he gets through getting through the holes.
Yeah,
and he's a star, man. He's a stud. He ran like that at Clemson, and man, I like to see what's his ceiling going to be. But boy, he's a tremendous talent, no doubt about it. 3 games in a row, I believe, over 100 yards rushing. So
yeah,
been a long time since Jackson. 5th in the league in rushing. So we got to go back to Fred Taylor. I mean, it's been a long time since they had Leonard Fournette was a good back, but he's a power back. But this kid is a guy who can accelerate, and it just looked like, boy, I mean, he get to carry 3 times. He might break. It just looked like he got the potential to break it 2 out of the 3 times he get a carry.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Go back to that message.
Oh, hey. I was about to get Jakari. Hey, Jakari, I was going to bring this up. I'm glad you brought it up. Lord. There was a Dewey sighting Sunday. Hey, and Dewey made that tackle, and he was hyped. He was jumping around, getting all hyped. And I say, all right, Dewey, we know you can tackle. It's your covering is your issue. So, you're all right. You did a good job. Get back to the huddle and don't give up nothing big. But, hey, when called upon, hey, I like what I saw from Dewey. He was hyped.
Yeah. Well, I hope he might have to start this week because Jenkins has a concussion. He's in concussion protocol.
Yeah. Ooh. Against Mahomes. Against Kelsey.
Oh. Zone is the word of the day. You got to play zone against that team, man. And there's Dewey out there. You got to get some safety help.
Yes. Give the safety help. Lord, have mercy. Hey, he said if Sauce wasn't around, Devin Lloyd would be defensive rookie of the year. Devin hadn't been playing all that great. He had a decent game. And you know what? And just like you said, you was like, hold guys accountable. If they're not playing well, get them off the field. So we saw Chad Muma. You saw less of Trey Herndon. You saw the 7th-round pick corner out there. So they switched it up. Shoot, Dewan Smoot got more reps. Mm-hmm. Guys weren't guys were being held accountable. But Mr. Josh Allen, I guess he did a disappearing act Sunday because we had 4 linemen each with 4 pressures. Trayvon Walker probably had one of his better games in the last couple of weeks. He had a really good game. And matter of fact, I'm going to pull up this play. Everybody has to see this play, him running down the tight end Murrow. And he was by the quarterback and ran down the field 40 yards. And see, my Adams was eating garlic crabs at halftime. Fingers too much garlic butter. Hey, he couldn't catch a cold in the second half, man. You see, I was nervous. They looked like they forgot about Devontae Adams. Yeah. He said, we don't start. Why don't we start Daniel Thomas? It seemed like he's in and he gets a big INT. When he's in, he gets a big INT. So, yeah, I don't know. They may start Wingard, but I don't know.
Yeah, I can't answer that one. New coaching staff. I mean, I don't know. I like to see Daniel Thomas out there more too. I think he can play, but
Yeah.
one thing I say about Dewey, he can tackle. He can make the reads and the calls, but he can also get schemed. And I wouldn't have him out there against a Kansas City team, no matter. I mean, he's a great special teams player, but man, you talking about prolific offensive team with a quarterback who threw 60. Well, I think he threw 67 pass attempts Sunday night or whenever they played against the Titans, man.
Yeah, Sunday night.
So I don't know if I have the. I trust this coaching staff that they scheme up right and try to put him in a position if he has to play to not get isolated like the last year with the Urban Meyer crew, to have this kid getting isolated by tight ends that can run down the field for fly patterns, and he's left and isolated in single coverage. But you got to use. I always say this last year too, man. You got to use your talent that you have on your roster. You can't be married to nobody. You got to utilize all your talent, all your strengths, and definitely was good to see what they did. Even Trayvon had his hand down a little bit, the little inside rushing. And I just think I think this Jaguar team has to go through the course of a 17-game season and it is rebuilding. I know people hate to say that, but I think this coaching staff is trying to find what the pieces are so they can win and go on win streaks next year or the season after that. And I think you have to have, you got to see what a Smoot can provide you if you get, we were talking about Gosses the week before, but, you got to see what those guys have. You got to give them 36 plays in the rotation to see how they'll play under extended situations or how Walker can play inside with his hand on the ground. And I think you have to, at this situation with what they're 3-6, and they're not out of it. Especially not in the AFC South, but I would like to see them take advantage of everybody, see what they get a good evaluation, access what they have. So when you do go into the draft after the season, you know what you got, what you need, and who you need to re-sign. You don't want to have a good talent and, a person like, player like Smoot, you can see talent, but man, how much talent can he show when he only getting 12 reps a game, so I like this coaching staff, man. I like their ability to bounce back. I like their ability not to be married to any players. I like the fact that they address when a player play like crap, they make adjustments and make changes. And we know in Jacksonville Jaguars history over the last couple of seasons, that haven't happened a lot.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me get these comments. He said, "Why are they not using Connor?" Talking about Snoop Connor. The only thing I can think of next is pass protection. That's one of the few things that stop young backs from getting on the field is pass protection. He can't pass protect, and that's a biggie because since you can't pass protect when you're in the game, other team knows it's a run because you can't pass protect. So say answer in this trash. Her Bubba Dub was can't believe he disrespected James Robinson. Disrespected James Robinson. When that happened, Jakar, you gotta let me know about that. I ain't hear about that one. I ain't know he disrespected James Robinson. But I'm guessing he's saying Snoop Connor did. If that's what you're talking about, Jakar. Yeah, expound on that, Jakari, for me. But yeah, shoot, this is about it. Everything you said. This coaching staff, I think these guys, they get it. Now the question is, how long before Frank Wright is a Jacksonville Jaguar? Now that he's no longer a coach, hey, I told him bring him on, go ahead, run it back, bring him on in. It wouldn't hurt. He's familiar with the system. He's familiar with Doug Peterson. But yeah, so the way that they adjust. One thing is very evident, and the Trevor Lawrence haters have been very quiet this week, of course, and they're going to be quiet because they won. But he's played very well. Um, the one thing that I've seen from them is that all the stats and all the analytics, everything you look at shows that this team moves the ball, and they move the ball fairly well. They showed the division standings, and they had point differential. The Titans are minus 20, I think minus 21. The Colts are minus 51. The Texans are minus 50, and the Jags are plus 21. They move the football.
Mm-hmm.
They move the football, and they're fifth in the league in red zone trips, but they're 24th in red zone touchdown conversions. So that's your biggest issue. You have to score in the red zone. It's still an issue, still a problem. Shoot, they weren't in the red zone, but that turnover that to Jermichael Hasty, Trevor got to toss it out there a little more. Hasty, you got to catch that, but Trevor has to toss a better ball as well.
Yeah, and the guy really got criticized the last 2 weeks, and he, I feel that some of it was deserved. I'm talking about Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I think that, you got a job, and this city wants a winner. They done had a situation with a, not a number 1 pick, but he was a top 3 pick, and he didn't live up to expectations. So I can understand the fans, dissatisfaction, throwing picks, not making the right decisions. And then you see this kid, he literally bounced back. He made the throws that he should have made. I mean, the throws that has to be made, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And, this team fooled me because I thought they were like what Shaq say, barbecue chicken, when they down 17-0.
Right.
And you stop Devontae Adams, even with your best corner all over him, he's still catching passes. And I don't know, man. Somebody moved the needle. Somebody flipped the knob or whatever it was. But this team woke up. They woke up and it said that we're not going to, get embarrassed by basically a bad rated team. And you watch that opening kickoff to start of the third quarter when they got that momentum. And for a change, they kept the momentum, basically. I mean, you're looking at a defense that, a lot of missed tackles the week before and, giving up big plays and didn't give up a touchdown in the second half. I mean, that's a victory. And I thought for a change from the third quarter on, it just seemed like all 3 phases probably played one of the better games of the season. When you look back on what they allowed, how much they scored, how they dominated a little bit in the third and fourth quarters, and they was able to come back, persevere, and I like Trevor connected a lot with Christian Kirk, on some nice patterns. They still slant patterns, but he still connected, and and they got the ball to the man that needs to get the ball, particularly in the red zone. For the life of me, I don't. If I got a guy that has 158 yards and he can't get a 1-yard touchdown, then I blame that on the coaching staff. I don't blame it on ETN. I blame it on the coaching staff. But you got to get this kid the ball. You got to block, and then you got to get out of the way.
First back since Fred Taylor, 100 yards plus, and a touchdown, 3 straight games. I mean, that's absolutely big time. And so, he said he was familiar with ETN. He doesn't know much about the other guy. Oh, that's shade. Then if he said it like that, it takes nothing for him to say, "I wish James Robinson well." Yeah. I mean, for him to go out his way to say that, that's absolute shade. And maybe he didn't like the guy personally or whatever. But even then, you got to stay classy, dude, because James Robinson has never disrespected Connor in a public forum. So that was not necessary.
A rookie shouldn't even speak on those terms, man. The one thing, James Robinson, a quiet guy. Even if he don't know you, even for a teammate, he's not going to overextend himself to try to know you. Yeah. And I just don't think that something that a rookie who can't even get in the rotation should be talking about.
Yeah, you need to worry about getting on the field. Say the GM need to bail that streak out of jail and sign him to the roster spot. He had some wheels on him. Yeah, that streaker was pretty fast. I saw it. I hate that the broadcast cut away from it and they don't show it. They need to show it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say turning point of the game was when Trevor ran for like 10, 15 yards on that third and long. If no run, the first Jaguars punt, his Raiders had good momentum at that point. Yeah, and Trevor using his legs, which I wish he would do that more. You know, just get down. Of course, you don't need to put your shoulder down into anybody. You know, like you Josh Allen or you Lamar. But use your legs, man. A lot of times it be there on some of those red zone throws that he had where he threw interceptions. It was space in front of him. Go run and get a few yards.
Yeah, extend the play. He's got to work on that a little more. Extend the play. But
yeah,
I thought he played well, man. I thought he played well. One of the better games he performed in the last 2 seasons of being in that situation, down by 17, playing catch up, and then turn around and take the game away and win it. Because you want to see them win like that at home, you know. But I thought that the line played okay. I thought that the receivers, I thought Christian Kirk particularly had a pretty good performance, catching needed passes when they needed to be caught. And just overall, I just wish these guys can put things that they executed in the second half, put it in a bottle, and keep it for the rest of the season. when you play Kansas City and you got to play the Ravens, I mean, it kind of seizes the momentum because you the way they won that game against you can't be down 17 points. So the Raiders are not on the same level with the Chiefs. So
and I picked the Raiders to win the division, man. I did not foresee this. And now it brings the question in, I mean, this is his first year, of course. You're not gonna throw him out, throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet. But is Josh McDaniels equipped to be a head coach?
Yeah.
It makes me wonder. It does. It makes me wonder, man. I don't know. I don't know. It's very interesting. They got to give him some time because they paid him. He paid. They locked into him for a minute. But man, I got to question it.
Well, I think he's got to establish a better relationship with the quarterback. There's a couple of shots in that game where it didn't seem like head coach and quarterback was on the same page. And it definitely didn't seem like the quarterback was on the same page with his receivers, man. You can't be in there yelling. I mean, if you throw behind the guy, you can't go in the huddle and basically point your finger and say it's somebody else's fault, So I think a lot of their problems is that quarterback, and I think the head coach is overcoaching. I think he's putting in too much, and I think it's taken away. I think the Raiders in the second half were doing just basically too much thinking. They wasn't. Whatever work, you got to make the adjustments because it's not going to work in the second half. And I just thought that the quarterback wasn't on page with the receivers. Defense wasn't on page, and you got to blame it. I think this head coach is putting too much in the system that these guys too. I know they're professionals, but if you got a playbook the size of a New York City phone book, it takes time to. I can tell. I mean, there's certain things that you can notice that they make things too overcomplicated. And when you watch them on the blitz pickups and he's shouting out and the linemen turning around and they got 19 different blocking assignments and don't know who to block who, and you got some issues. I think they got some internal issues with the Raiders.
Yeah, yeah. I would agree. I would agree with that. They look, especially in the second half, man. They look disheveled. You know, they look out of sorts. They look like they look like the Jaguars look in crunch time. That's what they look like.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, they
know
didn't
that.
have backup plan. Some got taken away, and they didn't know how to. It's amazing on their last drive. I believe their last drive or the second to the last drive, and I think that they had a penalty, and then I think they were forced into punting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like all I saw was a quarterback getting mad at his receivers.
Yeah, yeah. And he threw some balls that I'm like, man, you didn't even give those guys a chance to even make a play on the ball. He throwing them out of bounds, and I'm like, man, you at least get a guy a chance to make a play on the ball. But I mean,
especially on that last drive they had. Levante was open, and he threw the ball like out of bounds to him on that sideline route. So,
yeah, he was open.
Yeah, he was open. The ball just sailed. He threw it on the wrong side of Devontae, and it just, I don't know, man. I just don't think they're on the same page. You can go to school, college together. And you come in this league and you try to reunite and reacquaint what you did at where they went, Fresno, right?
Went to Fresno.
It's a whole different ball game than what they enjoyed in college. But for the life of me, I don't understand why they couldn't just execute the same thing that worked in the first half.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they look like the 49ers with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice in them in the first half, and then in the second half, man, they look like the Jaguars.
They lost, out coached, and I thought the quarterback play was just not good.
Yeah, it wasn't good. But man, I found it. So man, we gotta check this play out for those who haven't seen this play of Trayvon Walker. I mean, it's his speed to be that big of a guy is insane. So let's check this out. Here we go. But yeah, so check it out. They had a spotlight on him. You see where he starts. He's right up here at the top. And just watch how he runs this play down. Murrow was out of there.
But man, look how fast this kid can make up ground.
That's scary. That's scary. I mean, that's really scary. We talking about 275, 280. I mean, that's really scary.
But man, we could talk 15 minutes, man. Roll that back and look at Josh Allen.
Oh man, everybody was talking about Josh Allen's effort on this play.
I'm starting to think that Josh Allen has regressed, man. Everything's swinging wide. He is like he's his presence. Look at this. I mean, and I think that who's that blocking him? Leatherwood.
That might be Leatherwood. Let's go back and see who that was.
They might have cut Leatherwood, but man, it's just like he got no moves, man.
See who was at 77.
I mean, he's getting pressure, but at some point, man, you got to break it off and get to the quarterback. He tussling like a wrestler with the lineman, but shit, at some point, you got to like break it off and come at the quarterback at an angle. Look at this. He wide right there. And all he had to do was go inside right there.
Yep. And then this the part right here. Everybody else look like they're moving at another speed, and Trayvon is sped up. It's amazing.
Yeah, look at that, man.
Look
how fast he went from the 40 to the 50. This kid is a star, man. Yeah. No matter how many sacks he get this year, he's a star.
Yeah. And I think what they as I forgot who I saw talking about it. I'm going to give them their credit, but they say when you're really going to be able to unlock his potential when you can get another outside rusher and move him around. and let him rush from all over the defense. That's when you're really going to be able to unlock him, because he can go inside, he can go outside, because he got some good pressure inside Sunday.
But the Jags got to do something like the Dolphins. I know that the Dolphins got a shot to make the playoffs and all that, and they want to improve their roster. But the Jaguars got to start thinking like that. I mean, if you see a available guy like Chubb, man, you got to go out and make an effort, because just imagine. I just don't think the Jags got enough veteran, top quality talent. Yeah. And that's what you have to win. They'll be rebuilding for the next 5 years, but at some point, you got to add the veteran talent with these young guys, so there won't be as much pressure on a guy like Josh Allen. I don't know what's going on with Josh, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think he looked worse now than he probably done since he's been here. And I don't know what it is. I mean, he's getting a good rush on the quarterback, but he's not doing anything once, there's no additional move. There's no angle to get to the quarterback. He's going where the lineman is taking him. And when you, I don't know, when you in this league that long, man, you should know all those, those little things that can add up big. You don't have the lineman swing you all the way around and out to play. I mean, you just
right.
You got to know your leverage, and you got to know inside when to go inside, when to go outside. But most important, you got to know what your leverage is, where you can get your leverage on the inside of that guy, because that's what he should have did. No, I'm not trying to be a coach, but he should have went inside, and he went exactly where the blocker wanted him to go, outside. And that's an instinctive football, and he's got to be more instinctive, and it's supposed to be natural at this point. I mean, when you're looking at a guy in his contract year, didn't get re-upped, and he's making the same mistakes week to week. So I don't know what's going on in the practice field, but man, he's gotta make plays look easy, because he knows where to go. Man, it's a cerebral game also, but man, you just can't. You can't be like a brute force guy and expect that's gonna get you sacks.
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. So I agree with you, especially we need more veterans, and all that offense Sunday made me think about is, man, that X receiver. Even Calvin Ridley, he's going to be, by the time he suits up for the Jaguars, it'll be 24 months between his playing NFL football. So they took a chance. So hey, maybe he's that guy, maybe not. But if he's that guy, or if they go ahead and they find that guy, man, what this offense will look like. Because dude, you missing that guy who can win. You missing a Devontae Adams.
Yeah. Well, I just hope they stay in the philosophy, man. The more talent you have, the better your chances. But when you look at what's going on right now, there's a lot of parity in the NFL. There's not really a dominant team. But when you see the Bills get beat by the Jets,
man,
I mean,
I was gonna bring that up.
It's like, man, you gotta make sure that your young talent is progressing, but you also got to take advantage of opportunities when you see available talent that can help you. And if you need to pay a price, you pay the price. That's what the Dolphins did. Because just imagine a Chubb could really help the Jaguar defense, man, with essentially two young guys trying to be superstars, and Walker get chipped a lot. Just imagine who get chipped a lot if they had Chubb on the roster. And you always want to make your roster as best as can be, because this is not a situation, and the Jaguars should never think like this. Especially around the trade deadline, like the teams in the playoffs will always go and add talent to better their chances to, for a long playoff run. And the Jaguars should be in a mode where we've been losing too long. We done stockpile picks, and that hadn't worked. But we playing the season to the finish line because we want to have this team to learn how to win. That's how you learn how to win. And you got to continue to add talent to help them make winning easier. And I I don't think you got a GM in this city who buy that philosophy.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I would tend to agree with that. But I'm trying to pull up this because Jakari sent me the video, so hopefully my computer's acting silly. So hopefully it'll be able to come up and quit loading and quit acting the fool. But man, we're gonna go through some of these other games before we get on to a few other topics because we don't have much. And then we're gonna get on up out of here. Let's see. Oh, let me get this comment. So yeah, Kassan, he said Jags can't let the Chiefs get up 17. It's gonna be ugly. Not even 10. They have to score and make stops. Shoot, I don't want them to be leading no time at no point in the game. If we being honest, I want them to play from behind just like they did against the Titans all game. You got to stay ahead of them.
For them to try something different too.
Yeah. See, my homeboy is an assistant special teams coach. I met up with him after the game, and he said exactly what you just said. Carr wasn't in sync and went away from running to too many passing and went away from the first half playing. Yeah. I mean, Brandon Jacobs is the fourth leading rusher in the NFL. Run the football.
Yeah.
Run the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, run the ball. It said Jags should have a deep checkbook by now. Heck, all the draft picks, they got rid of some picks for the veteran stud player. Yeah, and then you'd have had to pay Chubb. So I know they say they're going to be $11 million over the cap, maybe move some stuff around to be able to pay him. But Miami seemingly paid him right away. They were paying him right away.
Well, they keyed in on what they think they would help him, and they didn't sugarfoot around and let it extend. And I'm just saying aggressiveness helps you win. I mean, you got to be aggressive as a GM. You got to be aggressive at when you identify talent that that can help your team. And I think that's been one of the problems here. You don't wait till the last finish. You 5 yards from crossing the finish line, and then you start talking to the guy you want to negotiate an extension. You gotta identify. And to me, I don't know. I don't know if Josh Allen is the answer. I don't think you should trade him, but I don't know if he's that. Maybe you have to. Maybe he's a better player if you go out and get another stud edge rusher, take the pressure off of him, and maybe that's the way he shines or something. He looks good to me when he was a rookie. And there's Calais, there's Jan, and there wasn't no pressure on him as a rookie, so maybe he shines more when there's more talent on the defensive front. But this team, if you're gonna stick with a Josh Allen, you got to find out what's going to make him most effective, because I feel at this point it may not be necessary for him to get as many snaps as he's getting if he's not producing. Man, I like to see other guys if they they get some more time, and maybe I want to see Gotsis get in the game more. Arden Key get in the game more. You don't always have to be stuck in the inside. Switch it around, switch things around. Put Josh at a outside linebacker and have him drop back some. Hell, he ain't getting sacks. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's see. I met Brandon Jacobs. That dude is so humble and soft spoken. Yeah, I've always heard nothing but good things about Brandon Jacobs, even in his time at Alabama, because he wasn't a highly touted recruit. But he burst through that backfield and became one of their top backs, and he one of the top backs in the NFL. And I remember in the Hall of Fame game, he was still in the game in the third quarter. And I was wondering, I was like, what is going on? Why are they playing Josh Jacobs knowing he's had issues with injuries? I mean, you must be shopping him. And supposedly they were maybe trying to shop him or whatever, and they ended up not shopping him. But I keep Brandon Jacobs, man. Brandon Jacobs can play.
Yeah, me too.
To say keep Ingram at all costs. I would definitely bring Ingram back. I think another year with Trevor would be good. They say Marcus Williams. What up, Marcus? He said, what is Chad Muma future with the Jags? I personally think he is too good of a player, too high of a pick just to play special teams. I know he isn't better than Devin Lloyd, but surely they can find a role for that guy, right? Hey, we've talked about this ad nauseum. Mr. Reed brought it up. He was like, I don't understand them taking Muma when you had already took Devin Lloyd. Like, because now, how is he going to get on the field? What role are you going to put out there for him? Yeah. I mean, Alua Khan, you got Lloyd. He's not an outside linebacker. So what role is he going to have?
Yeah, I go back to the draft. I don't think they should have drafted. I think that should have been a spot that you use that pick to get a receiver. And now you're in a situation where you got this kid. What you got in third, fourth round or fourth round? I can't remember.
Third round.
Third round. You got a third round pick, and you got to find a spot for him, or you wasting you wasted draft capital if you can't find a spot for him. But Devin Lloyd he's growing on the job. I say this, it's a lot for a rookie guy from Utah to come in and have to take on the role as one of the leaders of the defense. And then you got a Chad Muma, and then there's there ain't no room in the rotation for him. And I just don't think that's smart. I think this kid, when you draft somebody that high with that talent, I think he has to do more than play special teams. And I just think it was a mistake. It was a mistake by Trent, maybe even a mistake by Doug if he approved it. But those are the things I've been talking about that makes this franchise. It takes them longer to win when you make decisions like that, man. Because, at some point, this kid going to go in the front office and he's going to say, if you guys can't find a role for me, then I like to go somewhere else. And I can't blame him, So yeah. I think a lot of times when you're drafting, and I know what they was trying to do. I mean, you look at this football team last year, the year before that, there was a football team who couldn't stop the run, and they couldn't trust what they had. So they see this kid on film where he was at. He's a good run stopper, and then they needed insurance that if this didn't go right, if this player didn't go right, here's this kid we drafted, and we can build upon him, and then we got extra insurance for somebody that we know has the potential to stop the run, but man, that's like throwing dice. You trying to come up with lucky sixes. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think that's one of the biggest problems with the GM. Sometimes you just gotta, okay, we're gonna draft Devin Lloyd. We're gonna put all our marbles in the bag with Devin, and then we're gonna move on and try to address another need. And I think that's the thing that they got to have, man. And then if I still don't understand the James Robinson trade, to be honest. I mean, I'm just me. Yeah. But I know this. I know ETN is a superstar. I know that. And everybody else knows it. But, number one, I hear this thing about, well, they wouldn't been able to sign him. Well, he was a restricted free agent. So if he would have signed somewhere, you had the ability to match the contract.
Yeah.
And I don't want this franchise to get in the belief that, okay, I got to have one great player play that position, and we can't manage to have another good player behind them because we don't know how to manage the rotation. And you don't win like that. If you go look at some of these good teams, man, you think Buffalo got a problem but who knows? Buffalo's second string linebacker might be just as good as the first string linebacker. And if it is a problem, it's internal. They're not going to the media and saying, well, I should be playing. Right. And I think that's where this team got to get. I think this team is still going. I think Doug is still in that phase where I gotta have everybody happy on the roster kind of phase. He don't want to miss out on the trust of the players, then maybe like next year when all that other stuff that went on last year can just finally be put in the trash can. So I think they too much in tune to we got to make guys happy. We don't want guys shouting out stuff. But I will say this, like I said earlier in the show, man, they prove in this game against the Raiders that they're not married to players. So the bench,
Right.
I'm the only one that's saying it. They benched Trey Herndon. They benched him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, they did. Let's see. He said, Chris say if Carr didn't underthrow that ball, the fans would have been asking why is he on the field. He talking about Muma. Yeah, that was he ran into a pass breakup. He did. He ran into a pass breakup. Yeah, so yeah, you're right. They would have been questioning why is he on the field, but he was on the field because of Devin Lloyd hadn't been playing well, and they wanted to switch it up, and he kind of redeemed himself Sunday. We'll see what it is going forward, but like Marcus said, man, Chad Muma is a good player. So I mean, what are you going to do to get him on the field? Say, right, John, they should have used Chad Muma to get Dameon Pierce. I don't know about Dameon Pierce. I would take a receiver. Dameon Pierce, though, man, this interesting. That'd be better than Snoop Connor, which I got the video of.
Let's see. And then what do you know of coming into this situation with obviously James Robinson and Travis Etienne, both guys coming off injuries? What else do you know about the room that you're stepping into?
I know about Travis Etienne from college, but I don't really know about the other guy. But I just know I'm ready to come in and compete.
Oh, okay. So from this,
they want to switch it up.
That doesn't sound like that's recent, Jakari. That sounds like he didn't know him who he was.
I know I was in this interview. This is the conference call that we got with Snoop Connor on the same day he was drafted.
Okay.
And that's
the day he was drafted. Okay, so you saw it, Jakari. You must have thought it was recent and thought he was throwing shade.
Yeah, we got him on a conference call, and that's Mark from AP asking them those questions, but I remember that. So yeah, he didn't know what the roster was at that point.
So yeah, he knew ETN, but he didn't know James Robinson, of course. Let's see. He said, "I still want Ringo on the other side of Campbell, no fly zone." Yeah, what's it? Is it Keeley? Is it Keeley? Keeley Ringo, number 5 for Georgia. Man, that dude, he ran Jalen Hyatt's route, picked that ball off, man, in the end zone. Hendon Hooker was off that whole game. Speaking of which, that game from start to finish, they could not match Georgia's intensity, start to finish.
Yeah,
Georgia pretty much, they say you could win the game in warm-ups. Georgia damn near won the game in warm-ups, man. They could not match their intensity. And Hendon Hooker had open receivers. He was just off all game. He missed about 4 or 5 deep throws. Guys were open. Couple would have been touchdowns.
Yeah. And they just, in a matchup like that, you got a veteran, championship team. They've been slighted. They're coming in and playing this at home, and they feel they should have been number 1 in that ranking. And they took it out on Tennessee because they wasn't. So Tennessee got some growing pains to do, man.
Yeah, they better not drop to South Carolina. Kassan Carter, hey, go ahead and put them lottery tickets in that they dropped that game to South Carolina. Kassan, he said Jonathan Abrams I saw this. He just got released on the Raiders. Do you think that would be a good pickup for the Jags DB room?
Better than do it. He's better than do it. You don't know. Yeah. I mean, I know Jenkins been playing good. Cisco's still young, so. I like veterans, man. I don't. This franchise I keep preaching the same thing, but this franchise has to get out of this mode where they over scrutinize veterans. Like I think they over scrutinize. Oh man, they almost put the defeat sign up before they even make an attempt to sign a guy. They put these red flags up. Oh no, how you think he adjusts to a young roster? You think he can handle losing? Who can handle losing? I mean, you want a guy that can accept losing and don't get mad about it? Right. How's that going to mess up the locker room? I think they should just go follow that plan down 95 in Miami. Follow that plan. Do what you do. do what they did to their draft picks. They didn't go out and draft people. They went out and got talent as veterans. They used those picks right, what they got. And that's what this team have to do. It's all in the mix. Yeah, we can't be the only Florida team that finished with a losing record and don't make the playoffs.
Right. So Gamecock coming down to Gainesville this weekend. Oh, it's gonna be a show.
Yeah.
For sure. It's gonna be a show.
Beat Florida, Texas A&M. I still say again that Florida don't have the right coach. They got a great recruiter. Man, I don't know how good he is as a coach.
Man, I don't care that the quarterback situation is still, an issue for Texas A&M, but you're not supposed to be this bad when you done had the top recruiting class two years in a row. 5 stars all up and down the board, man. What is going on with Jimbo Fisher? I wonder. I wonder.
Look like Jimbo done got happy on the farm, like Monty Williams said. He closing deals on the recruiting and then forgot how to coach.
Yeah, he said.
I don't know what's going on.
They say you right again. The ultimate mess up is when the Jags released Darryl Smith because he felt he was too old. Shoot, them letting go Calais Campbell. Watching Calais Campbell dominate last night with Justin Houston. Justin Houston is another one. Jason Pierre-Paul is another one. Veteran guys. Those guys dominated, man. Shoot, that dude. Roquan Smith in his limited snaps looking good. Come on.
And I don't understand why the Jaguars can't go out and get him. I mean, maybe this is the formula that Josh Allen has to have to take his career to the next level. You might need a veteran to rely on instead of, he's being the leader of the unit and a mentor to Walker. I mean, maybe he needs somebody to lean on and a veteran would help, but I don't know, man. I think when you look at all the parity in this league right now,
See, that's gonna be Deion Sanders' jobs in Texas A&M. Deion he say cut out all the rumors and stuff. He say he ain't going nowhere. Cut it out, which we know what the deal is. He has to say that. But the Texas A&M job, Deion, that'd be interesting. I don't know, man. I don't think the only job that'll move him right now is the Florida State job, and Norvell's not going anywhere right now. Mm-hmm. I think the Florida State job is the only job that I think will really move him. He's been kind of staunch about that.
But one thing, Brandon, he lives in Texas.
He does live in Texas.
Texas A&M might have more money than any other college in this nation when it comes to alumni money, oil money, that Texas money.
Yeah. Hey, Kassan say you let Texas A&M lose to Auburn this week, that he getting fired by Monday. Man, Jimbo owed a lot of money, man. That's the only reason I don't see him getting fired. I think it's like $85 million, man. It's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. He say it's the perfect fit for Deion. Marcus Williams, it's a good fit. It's a good fit. I can't lie about that. It is a good fit. It is a good fit. But you spoke of parity in the league. Go ahead.
I said if A&M got big pockets, and if those big pockets throw enough green at Deion, he'll go to A&M.
Yeah. True that.
Texas going in the SEC, man. That's something that's got Texas A&M attention, man. I don't know if Jimbo is the guy.
Right. He might not be the guy. But you spoke of parity in the league, man, and it's amazing. I know I saw some of that Dolphins Bears, and man, and the Dolphins could score with anybody, man. Just Tyreek, out of top 5 receivers in receiving yards, Tyreek Hill is number 1, Jalen Waddle is number 4 or 5. I mean, those guys are amazing. They tearing it up right now. Who's it? Oh man, the Packers losing to the Lions. Oh my goodness. I mean, that's one I did not see coming. Aaron Rodgers, what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, man? I mean, not having Devontae Adams, not having that top number 1 receiver, is that affecting them this much? I was like, I don't know. But the way he lost that game, the turnovers that he had, it was very Aaron Rodgers like. And then they just lost Rashawn Gary for the season. That's not going to help.
Well, you know what it is father time.
Father
Even
time.
though I watched that commercial where LeBron finally beat Father Time in one of those competitions that they had on a commercial.
Yeah.
It looks like Father Time is putting it in the fourth gear in that 440 that he's running against with the quarterback. He doesn't look the same, man.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. And it's funny because Brady, I watched that Bucks Rams, and Brady was looking all of 45 for 3 quarters. And in the fourth quarter, he turned the clock back and just and dude, Jalen Ramsey throwing the Rams offense under the bus. Come on, Jalen. I understand he was, he was a little emotional after the game. He's an emotional guy. I get it, but man, Jay, you can't do that. He said, well, the defense shouldn't have had to go back onto the field. I don't care. I could care less. I could care less that you had to go back onto the field. That's not the type of world we live in. If I'm the coach, I'm letting her know straight up, it's your job to stop him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the offense's job to keep the ball and to close out the game. Yeah, they didn't do their job. But we pay you top cornerback money to stop the pass. Mm-hmm. That's what we pay you for, Jalen. So I did not. Jay, you can't do that, Jalen.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. You gotta be a team player, no matter how hard it is. Jalen doesn't like losing. He's a very emotional guy. He doesn't like losing, but man, you got to refrain from comments like that, man. You got an enemy on the practice field every day, Wednesday through Friday.
Yeah. He might have been. Oh, I mean, cut you off, but he may have been speaking for a lot of the defenders. They may have been saying the same thing, felt the same way, but you don't say it.
Yeah,
you don't say it.
Say it publicly. You can say it in house meeting in the locker room, but I don't know, man.
Yeah,
he cannot handle losing. I've seen that with my own eyes. He doesn't take losing well, especially when they had up game and he hit a 45-year-old quarterback marches downfield in about a minute and 12 seconds.
Man, yeah. Dude, but the MVP of that game for the Bucks, Tom Brady came back and won it, but they don't win that game without Vita Vea. Vita Vea is legit. They always use this term, but I think you found someone who it perfectly describes. Coke machine with legs, because that's what he looks like. He looks like a Coke machine with go-kart wheels. I mean, like the Gator, the big cart, the Gator wheels. Like that's what he looks like, man. That dude is unstoppable. He's supposed to be a run stuffer, but look like he can pass rush to me.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, let's see. He said Marcus Williams said Dion did have a song called "Must Be the Money." Yes, sir. He said, yeah, it'd be hard on them boosters to fork out $86 million on the buyout. Yeah, they can't. They ain't gonna swallow that, man. They're not gonna swallow that. It's not happening.
Unless they negotiate something to get it down, and they can negotiate a settlement, but that's a lot of money, man. Even for old people.
Yeah. See, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady look like they hate their jobs right now. And they're getting old. He talking about who we talking about? Jalen burnt toast, really? Jalen burnt steak. Dude, and then he didn't play his best game either. So I didn't like that by Jalen. Let's see, what was the other one, man? You brought it up, the Jets beating the Bills, man. Yeah. I was surprised by that. And there's something to watch. Josh Allen supposedly injured his UCL and his throwing elbow. They said it's like Tommy John for pitchers. That's significant. Yeah, it's very significant, and that's something to watch for the Bills, man. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he's gonna be like week to week, day to day, and if it's gonna require surgery. How bad is it injured? Man, it's gonna be interesting because without Josh Allen, man, I'm not picking the Bills to win anything. Let's see. Elite, one of the least talked about 7-1 teams in NFL history, as I heard somebody quote them to be, the Minnesota Vikings. That shocked the hell out of me when I heard that they were 7-1. I didn't realize they were 7-1.
Me either. So the only team they lost to is Philadelphia.
Only one.
So
only one. Let's see. Early vote for Coach of the Year. For me, Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll right now gets my vote for Coach of the Year. Seahawks were picked to basically be in the lottery if this was the NBA. They were picked to be picking top 5. This was a throwaway rebuilding year. But man, Geno Smith.
Yeah,
I'm so happy for Geno Smith and him getting this time, man. You know, he's waited a long time for this opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Seattle has played super, and I think the Giants head coach D-Ball, I think he gets some consideration, but I would go with your choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Pete Carroll. Right behind Pete Carroll is Brian Daboll, the Giants head coach. He's done a very good job. But right now it's Pete Carroll, man. It's Pete Carroll. The way that I like the way they play on defense. He's rebuilt that defense. That's they done that defense. It looks really, really good. He's rebuilt that defense. And then you got 2 stud receivers and Lockett and DJ Metcalf. Kenneth Walker is a good back, and then Geno Smith is just he's playing really good football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're at the top of the NFC West. When nobody thought that, nobody figured that would happen.
Yeah. Let's see. Marcus Williams said, I don't think the Jaguars should draft Ringo simply for the reason that Tyson Campbell is not a true number 1 cornerback. I would push back on that, man. He's the number 1 for the Jaguars. He's our number 1 guy. And before he gave up a touchdown to Devontae Adams, but I don't really. Pro Football Focus is hit and miss, but he's one of the top corners as far as grades. His coverage grade is concerned. He's like top 3 at one point, top 2 at one point. I think he's still top 5 still. I mean, by all the metrics, Tyson Campbell has been one of the better corners in the league, no question about it.
Yeah.
No. And then in the second half, man, he gave up the touchdown, but in the second half, man, he played hell of a game. He said we need someone like Marcus Peters. I understand veteran corner. I get that. Marcus Peters or Howard from Miami Dolphins. We don't need to draft a cornerback in the first round. I know you meant cornerback there. He said to be our number 1 cornerback, it just will not work. Well, we just spoke about a player who was our number 1 cornerback who we did draft, in Jalen Ramsey. So it has worked in the past. I think it'll work again, man. I don't know. I got Ringo. Ringo is a good player. I do like Ringo, but I'm still thinking wide receiver at the top.
That's what you should get. Get the best wide receiver in the country, then college.
Yeah,
and know that with what you got still on the roster.
Yeah,
he's got to get some playmakers if you want. If the quarterback is gonna be what everybody hopes to be, then Lawrence got to have some playmakers. It ain't all on Lawrence. You got to put the ball in the air, and somebody got to outrun the cornerback. And they ain't got that guy yet. I like Zay Jones, but I think Jones is a number 2 or number 3 receiver. He's not a number 1 receiver.
Yeah, we know what Marvin Jones is. We know what Zay Jones is. Christian Kirk, we know what those guys are. They're not those guys. I mean, it is what it is. See, what about Minnesota coach, Miami coach, or the Jets coach? Mike McDaniel, I could see coach of the year. Robert Saleh, he's in the running. All those are good choices. Minnesota coach, all those guys are good choices, but the Giants and especially the Seahawks, Minnesota, I expected Minnesota to be at least 500 at the very least because they still have a great roster. Miami, come on, man. You got Tyreek Hill. You got Jalen Waddle. They were expected to make some noise. The Jets weren't expected to be what they are for sure. So I will put Saleh above Miami and Minnesota coach with that. But what Brian Dable is doing with the Giants and doing with Daniel Jones is unprecedented. And then, of course, the Seahawks speak for themselves. Picked to be a top 5 in the draft next year, to be picking top 5 in the draft next year. And they may be a top 3 seed in the playoffs. So, I mean, you can't beat that.
Oh, Lord, I know we ain't on a political show, but Lord have mercy. Ron DeSantis.
Oh, he won? I mean, I knew that. I had no doubt about that. I said, man,
he's already done projected. He's the winner. And Katie Brett, whoever that is.
Yeah, I figured that. Yep.
They need one Democratic seat to gain control of the Senate. No, that mercy. We long 2 years, man.
Yep. Let's see. I'm thinking another pass rusher at the top and move Trayvon at the end and put his hand in the ground. I seen some mocks where they had when we was picking 5th before the Raiders game, and they had us drafting Jalen Carter, defensive tackle from Georgia. Jalen Carter is a great player. But I'm still wide receiver is more of a need for sure. I go get me a veteran defensive inside D lineman. Go get me a veteran pass rusher if I can. Receiver is still a need. He said, we got our alpha receiver, Calvin Ridley. We don't need to draft a wide receiver. No, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Hey, go get another wide receiver, man.
Yeah, they do.
Hey, Kassan asked the question. I say, was you surprised? I wasn't surprised, Kassan. I knew he was going to win. I knew that. I knew the fix been in. I knew that. He said, why? Why would we draft another wide receiver? Because, well, I told you about the uncertainty of Calvin Ridley. Of course, there is some uncertainty around him. It'll be 2 years between football games for him when he does lace him up for his first game. So there is that. And can he come back and be what he was in 2020? I mean, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. Also, Zay Jones is, he's decent. Marvin Jones most likely will be gone, and Christian Kirk is a slot guy. So think about this. You had Jalen Waddle in Miami, but they still went and got Tyreek Hill. I mean, you had Devontae Smith in Philly, and they still traded for AJ Brown. You had Michael Thomas in New Orleans, who was healthy at the time. Of course, he come back. And they still drafted Chris Olave. So you got it. You have to get the receiver right. And I would rather go get one of these guys because Chris Olave is good.
Yeah,
Chris Olave is good. These young wide receivers who have come in, we've seen them come in. A lot of these guys, they're good. What's that? The guy in Atlanta, Drake London. Drake London is good.
Yep.
Yeah. So a lot of these guys, they're good. I won't go get those guys, man. Go get them. I'm still going to get receivers. He say, who says Calvin gets reinstated by the league? I mean, his punishments was excessive to begin with, so they'll reinstate him. I don't think he'll have an issue getting reinstated. Yeah, I don't think he'll have an issue getting reinstated. But man, let's we're gonna wrap up on that, and we're gonna get into this Colts with Jeff Saturday. I'm gonna give my opinion on this, and then what else we got left? We'll talk about the whirlwind and other people speaking out on the Kyrie Irving situation, and then we're gonna wrap it on up. Say, but see, Colts Jeff Saturday hire makes mockery of NFL's meritocracy creed and again moves goalposts for black coaches. Say, there are a lot of head-tilting moments during Monday's night news conference at Indianapolis Colts headquarters. While it was ostensibly meant as an introduction to Jeff Saturday, the coach, it was a lot more about team owner Jim Irsay and general manager Chris Ballard, who seized the moment to air their grievances with local media. But one of the things Saturday said was laughable. You got to earn your place here. Yet I heard him say that, and that's hilarious to me. He said, a man with no coaching experience beyond a Met 2016 record at a small Georgia high school had just been handed one of the 32 most coveted jobs in pro football by a man who simply inherited one of the most valuable properties in this country. And Saturday had the audacity to be talking about earning it. He said, wealthy people handing out big jobs to wholly unqualified friends isn't new. The past and the present are rife with the C-suite inhabitants who got there solely because their daddy runs the joint or called in a favor. But this transaction happened in the NFL where we've been told ad nauseum that it's all about merit. Your draft slot doesn't matter. If you can play, you can play. And if you can't, hand in your tablet. You'll be considered to become a coordinator or a head coach only after you've put in time climbing up the ladder, toiling for hours as grossly underpaid low-level assistant, earning your bona fides as a position coach, and maybe getting to run a unit if you latch your fortunes to a guy who's one of the lucky ones gets hired to coach an entire team. And on Monday, in one embarrassing decision, he attempted to justify with comically bad news conference, Irsay laid the myth of meritocracy bare. Experience doesn't matter if you can hire your buddy. He said, why should there be grumbling on remaining coach staff? Saturday was tough as a player and a good leader as a player. Somehow in Irsay's mind, that makes him the best candidate to take over a listless NFL team mid-season as his head coach. His colleague Charles Robinson noted, Monday night's availability with Irsay, Ballard, and Saturday felt a lot less like an intern announcement. Has any team owner in recent years held a news conference like that for interim? And a lot more like a coronation, especially when Irsay showed his cards when he said Saturday was taking over for the final 8 games of the regular season and hopefully more. And Saturday, who according to Ballard and Irsay had rebuffed their previous offers to join the organization as an assistant coach or with the front office, suddenly was interested in coaching when he was given a chance to skip all of the usual allegedly required steps and become a head coach. He didn't earn this place. Great players don't always make great coaches. Brilliant people don't always make great teachers. Toughness as an offensive lineman needs to play center for 14 years, as Saturday did, has no real value when you're the head coach and trying to lead a team. It will be understandable if not every player is on the board. It would be understandable if not every assistant coach is on board. Irsay's seemingly rash pick is a slap in the face to every coach in the Colts organization, several of whom have enough experience to try and hold the team together as it finishes out this season. It's also slapping the face to assistants across the league, some of whom have worked for decades for any kind of chance to be a head coach, interim, otherwise, and prove that he has the mettle to lead a team. He say, and while we're on the topic of coaching diversity in NFL, the Saturday move is another example of how the league's ownership class truly feels about black men. Just last month, the NFL offered up another tired theme of black assistant coaches being asked to clean up a usually white head coach's mess in an interim role, only to more than likely be passed over for a full-time gig. No amount of interview requirements, lies about the pipeline, sermons about being patient, or accelerated programs to change the fact that the NFL owners as a group do not believe black men should be full-time head coaches. In 2020, Atlanta Falcons owner Arthur Blank tapped Raheem Morris to be interim head coach and said Morris would be a candidate for the job if he led the team to an 11-0 finish after Dan Quinn was fired for an 0-5 start. I forgot about that. He said in October, Carolina owner David Tepper said Steve Wilkes will be considered for head coach if he did an incredible job over the final dozens of games. Morris and Wilkes have over 30 combined years of NFL coaching experience. Wilkes, as a head coach in one season in Arizona, then fired when Cardinals brass thought Cliff Kingsbury and his sub-500 record at Texas Tech was a better hire. Morris, currently the Rams defensive coordinator, was head coach with Tampa Bay from 2009 to 2011 and still waiting for a second chance to lead the team. Meanwhile, Josh McDaniel, who got his first head coach gig same year Morris did, only to be mired in scandal. Fired before he finished 2 seasons in Denver, is on his third chance as a head coach. He spurned these same Colts in 2018, pulling out of the job the night before his formal introduction after getting others to sign on to be part of his staff, and was hired by the Las Vegas Raiders earlier this year. He said he probably would have been a good option as play caller with Wright fired. Instead, Saturday reportedly chose assistant quarterbacks coach Parks Frazier, who is 30 and has never called plays at any level. Okay, then. Jeff Saturday was gifted an interim job, and according to his boss, it's clear there's not small chance he'll get the job full-time gig come January. No lines, no waiting, no earning either. Who needs merit when you're white and you're friends with the owner? Man, that was a lot to digest. I will say this quickly about the Cardinals, and it seems to be a consensus with the Cardinals fans in Arizona that Cliff Kingsbury is undoubtedly the issue in Arizona, because there's no way that team should be 3-6 right now. I think they got the same record as the Jaguars. Mm-hmm. They're either 3-5 or they're 3-6. It's ridiculous. But the fact that Steve Wilkes was fired for him is ridiculous. But I hear all this talk about, black head coach this, and, it's a slap in the face to the coaches with experience and all of that. But as far as the black head coach thing, I mean, are you really surprised? I mean, I'm tired of having the conversation, if we're really being honest. I mean, I'm not surprised anymore. I mean, they've already played their hand. They've said it very loud and clear what the intent is and what they want to do and how they feel about it. So, I mean, if that's the case, if they've already showed you their hand, complaining about it is not going to do anything. Saying is not going to do anything. What are you going to do that tangibly that's going to change the mind of NFL owners if that's your objective and what you want to do? Because simply articles like this, talking about it, campaigning for it, accelerator programs, end racism on the field in the back of helmets, Black Lives Matter, all that other crap that are just simply empty gestures means nothing at the end of the day. What are you tangibly going to do to change this? And the reason we're in this spot in the first place is because what? Ownership. You don't own anything. It's the same thing going on with the NBA players right now, going on with Kyrie, LeBron, and all of that, Kanye and all of that. Ownership. Biggest thing is ownership. You don't own it. So since you don't own it, you have to march to the beat of the drum of those that own it. And then I could see if you were doing something to tangibly change it, or maybe you like boycott. You say, okay, we're not going to play, or we're not going to watch. No. It's just sitting in the corner and complaining about it at this point. And frankly, I'm tired of listening to it because it's not doing anything. We've been singing this same song just like this, Jeff Saturday getting hired and how it's a slap in the face to black coaches. I know, at least for me, it's been at least a decade that I've seen this. I know it's been longer than that since you've been covering sports, but it's been like this for a very long time and nothing has changed.
Yeah. Well, you pretty much wrapped it up, man. I said, I don't know if we can talk about it anymore because the needle hadn't moved. And who knows when the needle going to move? It's the owners, man. The owners are the problem. The owners find it. I mean, this is an example of that. Here's Irsay hired his buddy as an interim. Probably going to hire him permanently if they do anything. So you got to get more black ownership. I know that just is throwing it out there, but there's a lot of things have to fall in place to make it equal in this league. But, I think we done talked about it, cussed it out, chatted about it.
Yeah.
And the needle ain't moving. And, another thing, my pet peeve, if you're going to put in rules and they're not going to be enforced, then why even have them? That's my point about the ruling rule. If it's just something that owners can circumvent and get around it and explain their actions 3 days after they make a hire, then you got issues with your league. That's how that is.
Yeah. It's the same. Oh, what's that? I forgot who sings that song. It's the same old song. Yeah. Just a different meaning since you've been gone. It's the same thing. It's over and over again, man. It's tiresome at this point. But shoot, and not only so let's take the black coach aspect out of it and just put coach in this. I've never seen this before. Interim head coaches usually come from within because they're already familiar with the team. They know how things are going. You kind of want to keep the ship, at least somewhat stable and get through the season, at least a little bit. But this right here can blow up in the Colts' face. I, for one, am for it because if it doesn't work out, Jacksonville is a beneficiary of playing against a bad coach team headed by Jeff Saturday. So, that is what it is. But I would imagine that there are guys in that building right now that are pissed.
Oh, yeah. John Fox probably pissed.
Absolutely.
Former Jaguar coach probably pissed.
Yeah, Gus Bradley. You could have named Gus Bradley the interim head coach, and it would have been totally fine.
Yeah, he has NFL head coaching experience. But Irsay is a little different, man. He's a different type of owner. I can remember after the Jags beat his team in week 2, he was addressing something with the fans while he was leaving out of the stadium, and we're gonna get this fixed and we're gonna do this, and he's making those promises. But man, that I didn't see that coming, that Jeff Saturday would be their interim head coach with the possibility that they could hire him full time.
And then he brings in a guy to call plays who's never called plays in the NFL. Man, and listening to Jim Irsay, listening to him, I'm gonna say I'll pull up a little bit of this, and then we'll move on, and we'll get to a little NBA and get on up out of here. But I'm gonna see if I could bring up maybe a little bit of this, because man, listening to him and what he was saying in that conference, and I'm going to say allegedly, I have no facts or no proof of this. Jim Irsay sounded like he was under the influence. He did on some of the things he said, man. He did. He sounded like he was under the influence. Like he was talking about how it's good that Jeff Saturday doesn't have coaching experience, because a lot of these guys, they run to the analytics and, they're afraid in this league and they're afraid to play football. And, I've heard that. I have heard that before. I have heard, some of the older, football purists talk about, they get too cute today and, just play football, man. You ain't got to do all of this and, whatever, but just play football. I've heard that. But, man, just listening to him on that, I was like, man, I don't know. Yeah,
we'll see how the experiment works.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Coach Saturday.
Yeah, Coach Saturday. Well, hold on. I think I found. See what this video is right here. But man, I say, man, you got to be kidding me, Irsay.
Yeah.
To see it. No, the game is not different. We're the 4th winningest franchise in the league since 2000. All right, that means in the upper, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile. You want to bet against this guy? Put your money down, people. Love to see it. Love to see it. No, the game is not different. We don't build rockets to go to Mars. We're not nuclear scientists. That is none of our jobs here. It's a very simple jobs that we do here. I don't know how to make sausage. I don't know what goes into sausage. But I do know how to build a football team because I've been around for 52 years. There is no problem of perception, except some of you guys make a problem of perception, but you need hits, so you got to do it. I understand. I do the same thing. I was a broadcast journalism major too. I don't know. You guys ever held accountable to your editors bringing you in and say, well, you wrote that stuff. It was all wrong. You're fired. But I'm not sending a fighter in the ring I love. When I think that it's time, and let him get pummeled. No. Certain people just have it. They haven't. And you see it when you know it. I've never hired a losing head coach. We're the fourth winningest team in the league. It's not about belief. It's about fact. What we've done better than most all. It's that simple. Our record proves it over a period of time. So you don't have to believe much when it's there in black and white.
That was painful. If I'm a Colts fan, I'm worried. I'm very worried because that right there, he said quartile. I don't even know what quartile is. I don't know. He said coach staff have a wealth of experience. Linebacker coach, 44 years. The majority of their staff has 10 plus years, except a few. And we know this, Kassan, but man, this dude here, he said 52 years, about have a coach on staff with 44 and 32 DB coach Ron Miles, defense coordinator Gus Bradley, 33. Yeah, all that's their experience.
Yeah.
He said he would have been better off with static in his mic. Hey, Ness, he's man, and this is allegedly. I think he's under the influence, and I don't think it's alcohol. Man, that's because he sounds like a meme. Like, didn't he say love to see it? When the last time you heard a man of his age say love to see it? That's something I hear young girls say, a young kid say. I heard him say love to see it. Let me hear this again.
Franchise in the league since 2000. All right, that means in the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile. You want to bet against this guy? Put your money down, people. Love to see it. Love to see it. No,
dude, what? He sound like Meg Thee Stallion. Love to see it. He sound like Cardi B, Nicki Minaj. Love to see it. What we got going on here, Jim Irsay? Man, it's man, that's very interesting. Yeah, but hey, it is what it is. I don't know what to say about the Colts. He said, welcome everyone for the 2023 NFL Draft. Indianapolis Colts, you're on the clock with the number one pick. Hey, yeah. They're gonna have to fight. Who they gonna fight? They're gonna fight the Texans and the Lions right now.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know, man. I really don't know. But we're gonna leave it right there. And him and Coach Saturday, we'll see what the future holds for them.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna move on to our last topic, and then we're gonna get on up out of here. And gonna bring up, I had Kyrie Irving as the topic, of course, and this is surrounding Kyrie Irving. And what the sign say? Hold on, let me see what the sign say. Let me share that real quick. What did he say? He said, welcome. Okay. You already got that one. He said, they just leapfrogged my Panthers. I thought we was bad as an owner. Yeah, David Tepper isn't too much better. Yeah, Tepper is interesting as well, man. The one thing I could say about Jerry Richardson is Jerry Richardson knew how to build a football team. Tepper, his hiring of Matt Rule, right, was problematic from the beginning.
Yeah.
Let's see. This Boston Globe. Oh, come on, Boston Globe. Yeah. Hey, they put this stuff behind a paywall.
Yeah.
Man, ain't nobody trying to pay for that stuff, man. So hold on, let's go back. Yeah, let's go with Outkick. So Outkick. There we go. Say Jaylen Brown gets blowback after saying Kyrie isn't anti-Semitic. Irving meets with NBA commissioner. Someone asked a question too, Mr. Reed. He was so Adam Silver was so staunch on this whole thing, and he was so upset, and he was meeting with Kyrie Irving right away. And did he meet with Robert Sarver? Did he have this energy for Robert Sarver?
I know that he went to Phoenix. I don't know if he met. I know he met with the staff of the Suns. I don't know if he met with the owner, but he did meet with Monty and all the front offices. He met all the brothers. But I'm not a big fan of the commissioner, man. I think he's
right.
I don't think he's bad as Roger Goodell, but he's not David Stern. So put it that way. It's hard probably try to walk in those footsteps anyway, but he's definitely not David Stern.
Right. Somebody asked the question, how would David Stern have handled this situation? And they said, I bet my bottom dollar he would have handled this situation way better than Adam Silver has handled it currently.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. So let me just read how much it is. Okay, so this isn't much. So they got some tweets there, so I'm not worried about the tweets. So we'll get a little bit of this. So it says Kyrie Irving has been handed an indefinite suspension of at least 5 games for tweeting a link to an anti-Semitic film, which is up for debate. The producer of the film has come out, and the producer of the film himself, he is a I forgot how he named it, but he is a descendant of Hebrews, of Jews themselves, and he said that is his film is not anti-Semitic, and his heritage is of that. So now you got to ask the question. So okay, so what are y'all upset about? Let's see. However, Celtic shooting guard Jaylen Brown said the Players Association doesn't agree with the conditions of suspension and doesn't think Irving is anti-Semitic. Brown is the vice president of the NBAP. So is Irving, and said that Irving's situation is something new. He explained how it's gray area regarding the distinction between saying or writing something and sharing a link. He said there's an interesting distinction between what somebody says verbally and what somebody posts as a link on the platform with no description behind it, Brown said. Some people will argue there's no defense, and some people will argue there's no difference. There's no language in our CBA. There's no rules against it. This is uncharted territory for everybody. Brown said that a significant number of players were not in favor of the conditions Irving must meet to end his suspension. These include an apology, a $500,000 donation, completing sensitivity, anti-Semitic, anti-hate training. We must also meet with Anti-Defamation League, Jewish leaders, and Brooklyn Nets brass. The terms in which he has to fulfill to return. I think not just speaking for me, speaking as a vice president from a lot of our players, we didn't agree with the terms that was required for him to come back. And we're waiting for this Tuesday meeting to happen to see what comes of it. See, Brown played alongside Irving for a few years in Boston. He talked about whether he thinks his former teammate is anti-Semitic. He said, I don't believe Kyrie Irving is anti-Semitic. I don't think people in our governing bodies think he's anti-Semitic. He made a mistake. We understand from an outside perspective how important sensitivity is, not to condone hate speech and not condone anything of that nature. We don't want to stand up for somebody in order to not condone, or somebody in order to not condemn hate speech, but I don't believe Kyrie Irving is anti-Semitic, and hopefully the NBA feels the same way. So after Brown made his comments, people who both disagreed and agreed with him chimed in on Twitter. And so there's a bunch of people talking about it, going back and forth about it, but we're just gonna focus on our broadcast. And man, I agree 100% with the young brother Jaylen Brown, and for him to come out and stand on this square and saying what he said, he's saying a lot of things that a lot of guys aren't saying. He's saying something that I would expect a LeBron James to say. I would expect a Chris Paul to say. I would expect the older veterans of this league, a Draymond Green. I understand Draymond Green probably trying to stay out because he got away with punching somebody in the face, so he's trying to fly under the radar. But I agree with what Jaylen Brown said. He said you're in uncharted territory, and we talking about posting a link and now the film and what the films mean. So this film is being streamed and profited off profited off of by Amazon. And so since they put it out, where's the blowback for Amazon? But Amazon and the NBA are supposedly working on a deal. Yeah. So there's nothing for that. There's nobody talking about that. And so, I mean, the questions have to be asked.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think, I'm a little different take, but I just don't think that Irving, the Nets, I think it's time to move on with that chapter. Yeah. I think I don't know. I just don't know if the Nets got it upstairs with the GM, the owner. I don't know. I look back on how how they went about with the coaching change, and I don't know. I think Irving needs to find a new chapter, move on. I think too many bridges been burned. I don't think he got the appropriate support from his players, from his teammates during this situation. And I just think too many bridges been burned. And it's time for him to find another team. Or they need to trade him or buy out his contract. The story is not going away, man. That's one thing about the media. That Kyrie can, whenever he comes back off that suspension, can go 30, 12, and 10. And the major topic that once he starts fielding questions in the locker room on the podium is going to be about the suspension, his reaction to it, why did it take him too long to apologize, it'll go from there to there to there. And this will be an ongoing story throughout the Christmas break through January, through the All-Star game, and it's not going away. So I think the only thing that take away from that is Irving playing for a new team, because I think that's going to be the cloud and the shadow for the Nets moving forward. So, and you know what? And I say this, I mean, I think number one, I think Kyrie is a guy that's a little bit misunderstood. I think he understands he misunderstood, and he accepts that. I like a guy who speaks his mind. Right or wrong, he speaks his mind. He's not worrying about trying to appease a certain segment of the NBA crowd, and I think he's misunderstood. And I think he's misunderstood because I don't think he's allowed people to really write that story about Kyrie. Like what is the real Kyrie? I don't think he's going to allow anybody to share that story of why he say the things he say, and why did he say the world is not round and all that kind of stuff. But he's a smart young man. He's a very smart young man, and I just think it's time to start a new chapter, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the same thing. Because like you said, it's not going away. And guess what's the number one educational documentary right now streaming on just about any platform? It's that one. It's called Hebrews to Negroes. He posted the cover art for it. And they had such an issue with it, and they made such a big deal about it. People want to see what everybody was talking about and why they're so mad with Kyrie Irving. It's number one now. Number one. So if you wanted this to go away, all you did was give it pub. You gave it life. You let it breathe. David Stern would not have done that. David Stern would have put this fire out way before now, because it's still going on. This fire is and you're taking away from basketball. They're taking away from basketball. Kyrie isn't taking away from basketball. They are. Yeah. And KD, I like what KD said. KD said we could have handled this in-house and not the way they've been handling it.
Yeah, I agree. And that might have been something that David Stern would have did behind the scenes, but he would have not had that go on and on and on. I read a story that the owner wanted to put Kyrie through this this learning phase to know about the Hebrews and the Jews, put him through type of a awareness type of thing, and he was expecting that, you know, Kyrie would come out eventually and apologize. So the commissioner got involved with the owner, and I don't know, man. I think Adam Silver has to be a better commissioner. I think he has to be a little more assertive when it comes to the league got to make a decision. And I think he's got to be more in the forefront. I think the commissioner right now, and I don't watch NBA like I used to watch it right now, particularly at this point of the year, but he's got to be. One thing about David Stern, you didn't have to guess who the owner, you didn't have to guess who the commissioner of the NBA was. And when the voice rang, when the voice rang, it rang from David, whether he was in a room with LeBron and Kobe. But when he spoke for the league. And I think this guy, Adam Silver, is not a take charge voice. This is the league statement. There's no other statement but the league statement. And that's the thing that David did. He didn't have you guessing what position this league is taking or what stance, even if it's right or wrong. You knew what stance that the NBA and David Stern would take, and there was, there was no moving to this side or that side, appeasing this, appeasing that. And when he gave punishment, he was the one that got to the podium and tell him, "I'm suspending him." You don't have to guess who it came from, whether it was the franchise or the league. He was a stand-up guy, and it helped that league to have a stand-up commissioner where it's one voice, one decision, and he didn't mind, I mean, when an owner had to be reprimanded, he said it.
Yeah.
And I don't think Adam Silver is a take charge guy. I think he wanted to obviously have a great relationship with the players, but I think sometimes you have to cross the bridge, and they may not speak to you when you get on the other side. And I think his biggest fear is he want to be liked. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit like Roger Goodell, but a little not as much as that. I think Roger Goodell's biggest problem is that he's just a token for the owners. I don't think that Adam Silver is a token for the owners, but I think that he's not assertive enough as a commissioner. And he lets too many voices get out without taking control of the narrative. And you commissioner of that league, man, you got to be it's like I'm the last word, the last voice is just like the judge in the courtroom. Once the hammer go down and the judge and the verdict is read, that's it. You know where it came from. And I don't think he did a good job with that.
Yeah, I was listening to another YouTuber. His name is Mamiya Obsidian Ali. Listen to his stuff, and he was talking about being a good leader and being a good man. And he was talking about you can't do both. And what he meant by you can't do both is that to be a good leader, you're going to have to make tough decisions. You're going to have to step on some toes. People are not going to like you because of the decisions that you have to make as a good leader. And trying to be a well-liked guy, you're not going to make decisions that you do as a good leader. It's going to be very tough to do so. Adam Silver, he just hasn't found it. I think, like you said, he wants to be liked. Now, Roger Goodell seemingly on the other side of it. He doesn't care. I don't really think he wants to be liked because he knows that he brings in the dollar, which is the bottom line. That's all they really care about. They say, so my decision is my decision. But Adam Silver, he's on that. Well, I don't want to step on toes here. I don't want to do stuff here. But I will say that his energy towards Robert Sarver is a very different energy than he's had towards Kyrie Irving, and it's very evident.
No question. He's scared to piss the owners off, and he don't know how to act when he need to act.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, but we're gonna leave it right there. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on all my social medias. Follow Mr. Reed on Twitter. Any closing thoughts talking about these Jags? And they got the Chiefs upcoming, I think, and they got a bye week. Then you got the Baltimore Ravens. And man, if you want to talk playoffs and try to make a run late in the season, it starts now. You have to beat one of these teams, man. It just is what it is. Not saying they can or will, but you drop both these games, it's a wrap. It's over.
Just play consistent. And Jacksonville's, this is rebuilding football. This is not, they beat the Raiders and now they can get to the Super Bowl. I don't want the Jags to go to the playoffs, because if they get matched up against the Bills or somebody in the first round, it'll be ugly, embarrassing, and we don't want that. The kid already got confidence issues, so take each game, play to win, play entertaining football, and get to the finish line. I mean, get ready for next year, build the roster, and maybe look at getting a new GM.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. Hey, I will say this about the Chiefs. The Chiefs, this a tough drag in the slate. We haven't beaten the Chiefs since Mahomes has been their quarterback, and it hasn't been close each game. They blew the doors off us each time. But I will say this, to give you any chance Sunday, number one, can't turn the ball over. Number two, run ETN. Run him early and often. Slow down the game. Derrick Henry slowed the game down. Run ETN, man. That's what you do. And don't turn the ball over. Don't turn the ball over. Yeah. But I appreciate y'all. Like, share, and subscribe. All that good stuff. But until next time, we are out of here. Peace out, y'all.